How's everybody doing? This is Matt with the Save the Bay podcast. I am joined again by Adam.
Hey, how's it going, Matt? Good to have you back here.
Thanks. So March means new month, means new theme at the Exploration Center.
Every single one. Yep.
So what's this month's special theme?
So the theme this month is actually terrific turtles for a lot of reasons. One, turtles are absolutely terrific animals, and we love them here. Rhode Island's great because we have a lot of really neat turtles that are very interesting, and they're terrestrial for the most part. We got some aquatic ones. We get marine ones that move through our area occasionally too, but usually it's during their long migrations. But we're really going to be focusing a lot on the terrestrial turtles in Rhode Island that a lot of people might not realize are here.
What type of terrestrial turtles are here in Rhode Island? And if someone was to see a turtle in their backyard or near a river or a stream, or pond, what kind of turtles would they be seeing here in Rhode Island?
Yeah, so there's 7 main species in Rhode Island that commonly occur around here, and I'm going to try my best here to get them all right here. There's Blanding's turtle, there's spotted turtle, painted turtle, musk turtle, also called a stinkpot turtle, one of my particular favorites. We actually have one here that is 26 years old, as crazy as that sounds.
Is there a reasoning for that name, stinkpot?
So actually, with the stinkpot turtle, this is one you might want to leave alone if you do find in the wild. Not that it would injure you, really, per se. But this turtle, you pick this thing up, and not unlike a skunk, will exude a pretty nasty musk. And that's why they call it a stinkpot turtle. Yeah.
What are some of the markings on a turtle like this, or how big do they get?
So this turtle, it only gets to be full grown. So you kind of measure turtles by the top shell, how big the top shell gets. And the top shell on that one, I want to say, is close to maybe about a foot full grown max size. So they can get to be good, and that'd be a pretty large female. The females get a little bit bigger for most turtle species. But this one tricky thing about this turtle actually is, guys, it looks a lot like a rock.
Okay.
So you might be,
good camouflage.
Good camouflage. You might be like in a little brook or stream or a small pond or even lake sometimes, and not even realize it's a turtle. You might be like, oh, that's a cool rock. I'm going to pick it up. And then all of a sudden it's a musk turtle, and that's one common way to find them.
Okay. What about, I'm sorry, I cut you off in your list, some of the other turtles you might find?
Yeah, there's a few others. Another one, the common snapping turtle. It's a great one. That's the largest land turtle around here for sure. There's cousins of them in the south that get much bigger, actually, the alligator snapping turtle. Okay. But this one is still really impressive. For the most part, they're not too dangerous. When they're in the water, they pretty much want to leave you alone and swim away. But on land, that's when you really want to leave them alone. So you see some large snapping turtles walking around your backyard. Let them do their thing. You don't want to lose any fingers. And it's the same deal for most turtles, like you were asking too. You see a turtle in the wild, you don't really want to mess with it. You want to let it do its thing.
Sure.
You disrupt their seasonal migrations, it can cause a lot of issues for them. Obviously, you see one in the road that's going to get whacked by a car or something like that. You want to help it get across the road and keep it on its path, because it's always going to keep going. Where
slow and steady.
They're decisive. Yeah, exactly. When they make the decision to go, it's like,
Good for them.
Yeah,
Good for turtles.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's other ones too. Actually, one of my favorites, the northern diamondback terrapin in Rhode Island here. We actually got a few of those here as well.
Oh, great. Yeah. So what are the I know we have a snapper here.
Yes, we have a snapper. Yep.
His name is Bowser?
Bowser's his name, yes. We have
name.
wonderful interns here, and one of the interns who's actually been hired since as one of our staff, which is kind of cool.
Cool.
He named that turtle when he was an intern, yes.
Awesome. What other, and you said a terrapin we have here. What are some other turtles?
Yep, so we got the northern diamondback terrapin. And, cool story about every single turtle that we have here. They're actually all rescues for one reason or another.
That's really cool.
We're super particular about that just because there's so many turtles losing their habitats in Rhode Island, getting displaced due to human activities. Injured from natural things too that just need homes. So we decided to only take that kind of turtle.
That's really
sure.
cool.
Yeah,
that's a really cool thing that you might not know if you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of guests come through here. I mean, this past weekend we had a little over 300 people come through our doors over 3 days. So for us, that's a lot of people for our center.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I can't talk to every single one of them.
Sure.
So a lot of people go through not realizing that every turtle here is a rescue, which is kind of neat.
Well, hopefully we'll clear some of these things that you might not know up in these podcasts.
Everyone's going to listen. They're all going to know.
So there you go. So
spread the word,
to
people.
So you have Bowser.
Yeah.
What are some of the other?
So we got the diamondback terrapins. We got 2 of them. Their names are Jerry and Phyllis. When we got Phyllis, her name was actually Phil. We didn't really realize that Phyllis was a girl until she started to develop. We got her kind of at a younger age. And again, like I said, with some of the other turtles, the females get much larger, and their shell shape is slightly different too. And then we also got a couple spotted turtles, and also we got a stink pot too. So there you go.
Very cool. Very cool. And is the snapping turtle the largest turtle that you would like? That's the one that gets the largest in Rhode Island.
That's the one that gets the largest for the most part. As far as native year-round turtles that are here, once you start getting into the sea turtle world, they're all pretty much larger than the common eastern snapping turtle for the most part. Something like the leatherback turtle, there's fossils of them the size of Volkswagen cars. Wow. You know what I mean? Like they get huge. I don't think they get quite that big anymore, but they still get massive huge.
That's really cool. Would you say from species to species of turtle, what is the age range? What's the lifespan?
That's another interesting thing too. A lot of people will they'll see a turtle when they're a kid or something, like, oh, this is a pet, I'm going to take it, and they bring it home, super excited because they love the turtles. They don't realize all of a sudden, like, oh, it's 40 years later and I still have this turtle. I'm an adult and my kids have it now. And that's actually how we get a lot of these turtles. That's why we have one that's 26 years old right now that's here. Like the stink pot turtle, he's 26. That species lives, the average adult lifespan is anywhere from 25 to 40 years old, something like that. So we might have him for another 15 years.
Wow.
And then even something like the snapping turtle can get a little bit older. This species, closer to the 50-year mark too.
Wow.
But then there's even some sea turtles, guys, that get to be 150 years old.
That's amazing.
Older than people at this point in time. Which is just amazing. They don't have any medicine or anything. They just sit around swimming and eating God knows what that's out in the ocean. And
whatever they find,
and they're doing just fine. Yeah,
that's amazing. Every time I think of sea turtles, I think of Crush from
Finding Nemo. Yeah,
that's exactly what
every animal in the aquarium gets related to Finding Nemo at some point. That's one thing I've learned working here.
So we have the turtles here. That's one of the pieces of why Terrific Turtle is the theme for the month of March. What other activities can we do here?
Yeah, so like always, we have great activities, that are always going on. But when we change with the monthly theme here, we got some good ones for turtles. So there's going to be story times. I think Tudley the Turtle is the feature this month. So we have some great storytellers that come in, tell this story, and they make it interactive with felt pieces that they put up on the board. The kids kind of act it out as they go, which is kind of neat. We're also going to be doing a from-scratch turtle craft where you actually make your own turtle and you can bring it home.
Oh, cool.
And to be honest with you, I'm not the craft guy. I take care of all the animals and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see how this works out. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah, we have some new staff here that are very specialized with that kind of stuff.
That's excellent.
So they're working
That's
on
excellent.
that.
Awesome.
Yeah. There's that. We're going to be doing creature features. We're going to hopefully develop some time to have people actually handling some of our turtles, which normally we never do because you want to keep turtles nice and happy and healthy.
Yeah.
But we've found some ways that will kind of work. You'll be able to feel their shell and kind of hold them a little bit.
That's really great.
And we'll do it like once a day when we're open. So it should be just fine for the turtles, and that should be super interesting.
Awesome. I'm going to have to come down here for some of the turtle activities.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
We're going to make you hold a turtle, Matt.
Okay.
You're going to love it.
Oh, I'm excited. I've never held a turtle before. I've never held a turtle
Really?
before. Yeah. No.
We got to do it.
Okay. And just like besides the turtles, the other animals down at the EC, there's normal feedings and
all the time. Like every day when we're open, there's different feedings of different animals that we schedule throughout the day. And we're kind of at the animals' whims here, so they sort of happen when the animals are ready, that kind of thing. So we don't always post exact schedules for feedings. So we're going to be feeding stuff all the time. There's always animals that you can handle here, which are really cool. All different kinds of intertidal species in Narragansett Bay, sharks, skates, stuff like that. Our skates have been pumping out tons of eggs lately. We have all these little babies you could check out right now, those little juvenile skates, and I swear they grow every single day. They're getting bigger.
People are loving I put the photo that you sent me of the skate hatching
out of the egg.
Yeah, and that's amazing. What an amazing photo. So that's the kind of stuff you can see when you come down here, which is awesome. That's fantastic. So cool.
Yeah, it totally surprised me. I came in one morning, saw that little tail wiggling out. usually I see them either in the egg or out of the egg and not kind of halfway.
Yeah,
so that was
caught
cool.
them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So you can see all these pictures that we're talking about, and we put up videos all the time on our Facebook page, the Save the Bay Facebook page, but the Exploration Center and Aquarium Save the Bay page as well on Facebook. So check that out, and you guys are always posting stuff to it. I'm posting some things to it. So yeah, there's always good stuff on there. So check that out on our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter, Save the Bay RI as well, and we post the photos there too. I think people are really going to be excited for the Terrific Turtle theme. I'm
it's
excited
only
for
terrific.
Turtles.
So what? Yeah, exactly.
I love turtles. Yeah,
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that. So next up on the podcast, and this is a special interview that we did with Dan Force and Dave Polatty of the Navy swim team. And they're going to talk about the swim registration is now open.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Those are some amazing guys. I got the opportunity to meet them at one point, and they're just awesome guys. Yeah. They're going to tell some great stories, I'm sure.
Big advocates for Save the Bay. They love Save the Bay. Well, they love Narragansett Bay, first and foremost, and that's what kind of led them to us and the swim. So we're going to chat with them really quick, and then we'll come back to you. I am joined today by Dave Polatty and Dan Force of the Navy swim team. Is that the official name of the swim team?
I think it's Navy Newport.
Navy Newport?
Yeah, and then occasionally we'll have like an Army or a Marine Corps or an Air Force swimmer, and they want us to make it like Team U.S. military.
Yeah.
But okay. Navy Newport. That's what we've gone
Navy
with
Newport
over the years.
So they are participants in our swim, and registration happened when we're recording this. It kicked off today. The swim is set for August 13th. And this is an exciting time of the year. The swim's going to fill up quick. This is not your first. You guys are not strangers to this swim.
No. This year will be my 16th.
16th.
Yeah. I did it. The first two times I did it was when I was on active duty in the Navy, and I was stationed at the War College. I did it in 89 and 90. And then when I transferred away, I never really got the opportunity to come back and do it again until after I retired from the Navy. My wife and I decided to settle back here, and I swam it again starting in 2003.
Okay.
And I've done it every year since then.
All right, awesome. So a little gap, but you came back to it.
Yeah.
And how about you, Dave?
Yeah, so this will be my 10th year. I started, like Dan, I was on active duty at the Naval War College. 2006 was my first year. I did the first 3. I was on active duty. I missed 2009 because I was in Korea for a big military exercise, which I got a good story about that.
Okay.
And then I've done it. I've been a civilian at the Naval War College since mid-2008. So I guess technically, 2 on active duty and the rest as a civilian.
Oh, excellent.
But I had a break, too.
Yeah.
For a good reason, like Dan did as well.
Yeah. This is going to be my 4th swim, I believe. I did it the first year I worked at Save the Bay, and then I took a year off, and then I am back 2 years in a row, and now this will be my 3rd in a row, 4th total. So I'm ready to hit the water. I'm hoping to train more this year than I did last year. So I only have to go in the pool more than one time to beat that record. So what got you guys started in the swim? Like, how did you first hear about it? Go back to your first swim and think about what got you, what got you to register?
Well, as I said, I was stationed over at the Naval War College, and I had just come off of 6 years of sea duty in the Navy, and the sport of triathlon was still kind of new, and I came from a running background. I'd been a runner since I was in 9th grade, and I decided I wanted to do triathlons a little more, and so I started, swimming, training at the pool over on the base, and it just kind of, I got into open water swimming more, and I really enjoyed it. And then I didn't really know about the Save the Bay swim at that time, but some of the civilians that I worked with at the Naval War College, told me that I should get into it, and I did. And I'm kind of an environmentalist at heart. I mean, I like to see our surroundings natural and pristine, and so I support what Save the Bay is doing. I'll be honest, my primary reason for getting into it was just because, it like swimming across a shipping channel or a body of water like that, it's kind of like climbing a mountain, like I just want to do it. I want to get across there,
Sure.
But the fact that I felt like I'm helping the environment in the bay, that was
so it was like twofold for you.
Yeah,
you kind of
exactly.
you found out about it, and then it's a good cause. So you wanted to do it, and that's great. Were you have you swam before then? Where have you been like? Did you do any open water swims or
not much? Not really. I did. I'd always been around the pool growing up as a kid. I could always swim.
Sure.
When I was in high school, I went to a big high school and they had a pool. And as I said, I was a runner. I was on the track and cross country team. But when we had to do swimming for phys ed, a couple of times the swim coach came to me and said, "Why aren't you on the swim team?" And I never really thought of myself as a swimmer back then. And I wish I would have taken the hint, and maybe I'd be able to keep up with this guy.
Well, I'm trying to keep up with both you guys. So you guys are doing. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of similar to Dan, and I don't know why. I got here in 2004 to Rhode Island, and I'm not sure why I missed the first couple of years, other than I might have been really busy. But I started swimming at like 6 months of age. The legend has it my folks threw me in a pool and just let me go. But I've been swimming my whole life, so over 40 years. I'll leave it at that. And then I've been surfing, I think, 30 years this year. And so I care a lot about the environment, like Dan. I think about the cleanliness of the ocean and the bay a lot. But for me, I think I heard in 2005 that the event had happened, and I was upset that I didn't take part in it.
Yeah.
So the 2006 one I registered as soon as it opened up, and I just wanted to see how crazy it would be to swim across the bay, knowing that the currents are pretty significant, knowing that the weather plays a huge factor. And just the idea of getting in the water with like 400 other people or more, depending on the year, it sounded pretty cool. And the fact that it's not a race, it kind of turns into one sometimes.
Yeah, but the competition
challenge
is still there.
Yeah,
it's a challenge.
But for me, that first year was really special. One of my good friends actually kayaked for me, and I knew I could make it across. But we decided, hey, you kayak, you can yell at me and harass me. And I did the second wave, and I actually stopped in the middle for like a minute and just kind of took it all in.
Yeah.
And that was pretty special, watching all these people around me just, doing their thing. And looking up at the bridge from that perspective in the water, not on a boat, was neat.
Yeah.
And then getting screamed at by my buddy to keep going, to get across. And then from that point forward, it's been, get across as fast as you can, which I think one of these years I'll have the guts to just stop again and just enjoy. I think that's the magic of it. But yeah, I did it because I was mad I didn't do it the first 2 years.
Yeah.
And then ever since it's been the number one thing I want to do every year is the bay swim.
You look forward to it every year.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Same here, definitely. It's an experience. I mean, being out there and seeing the bridge from that angle, the Newport Bridge, is just, it's amazing. Yeah. Absolutely. I stop, and also because I'm tired, but I stop and look at the bridge. I'll say it's because I want to admire its beauty. We'll go with that.
I mean, I do a lot of sailing in the summers also, crewing on a sailboat for weekly racing. And even when you're on a boat and going under the bridge, I mean, it's kind of a similar perspective, like Dave's talking about. But when you're actually in the water, it makes you feel, just a whole lot smaller. I mean, it's a better perspective.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people don't get to see that bridge or the bay like that,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So it's great, and having all the people in there with you is awesome too. The other swimmers, that's really cool to have them next to you. Sometimes you get kicked starting off. I don't know if you guys have any experience with that.
The beginning's always fun. And I think for me, the most special part of the swim period is, so I did that first year, and, at the after party, which is amazing always, just met a couple of people. And then since that point in time, 10 years later, 11 years now, I mean, some of my closest friends and some of the people I respect the most, as far as just they're great athletes, but they're also amazing human beings. Mm-hmm. The people you meet at these events, like this one in particular, are extraordinary, and their passion and their commitment, not only for taking care of the environment, but also like taking care of themselves physically. And they're just some amazing humans. Guys like Dan. Like I don't get to see Dan enough because we don't sync up at the pool all the time. But I mean, every time I see him, it seems like I saw him the day before, and it's just it's inspirational, and it's definitely a motivating thing for me. Every year I meet new people, and I think that's one of the coolest things about the event.
That's great. And how many other people do you anticipate to be on your team this year?
Well, last year we had it was close to 20, I think, wasn't it? You
know,
all people that are somehow associated with the Navy or with the base, I should say, because like Dave said, once in a while we'll have a person from another service who's attending the Naval War College who'll swim with us. But, yeah, I anticipate we'll get 15 or 20 again, probably.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think anyone that has an affiliation with the military, like their parents served or their brothers serving now, like we'll take anyone on for the team. Got to give a shout out to our other team that we participate with throughout the rest of the year through the U.S. Master Swimming. Is Swim Rhode Island that's the team, that's the big team that you see dozens and dozens of people show up in their blue T-shirts, and that's another one. If if you're looking for a team to jump onto throughout the year, they are definitely the one. They're huge Save the Bay supporters.
Cool.
Now,
awesome.
Something I just wanted, Dave made me think of this. I've wished would happen for the past several years. I've been thinking about this, and I know again it's not a competition, but since we have these teams, if Team Navy could somehow convince Groton to form a team to come up and swim in this, and Team Navy, compete against Team Navy Newport against Team Navy Groton, I think would be a fun thing if they could send a cadre of people up here to swim it.
Yeah.
It would really be fun. And, we could host them and, have a little Navy competition there.
I think we might have to reach out to them and see if we can get a little competition going.
If Groton people, if you're listening to this or watching it on the internet, get your butts in gear.
Bring it.
So we know the swim is special. We just talked about that. It's a very special event. Do you guys have any favorite swims of the 16 and 10 years that you guys have been doing it? Or does any stories stick out, good or bad? Does any stick out in your mind?
Go ahead.
Do you have one?
Yeah, well, there's a bunch. I mean, every swim is special. I think the weather has a huge factor in how you remember the swim.
Sure.
And I don't even remember years necessarily because, the older you get, the less you can equate the event that happened to a date. But last year was special because it was, at least in my experience, the most challenging conditions we had. We had an outgoing tide. We had a surprise north wind in the summertime that blew really hard overnight. Mm-hmm. So the current coming down the bay was intense. And for anyone that did not go on a northern route to Jamestown, they ended up, right off of the point, essentially on what we call an endless swimming pool. Where it was like swimming on a treadmill.
Yeah, yep.
And
that.
You could see the bottom. It was crystal clear, thanks to Save the Bay's efforts and others. Mm-hmm. And you weren't moving no matter how hard you swam. Mm-hmm. You remember that feeling, Matt?
I absolutely remember that feeling. I remember, so this last year's my third swim. The first two swims I did, I kind of came in almost the exact same time, within a couple minutes of each other. And so I kind of knew with my third swim, I was like, okay, had a stopwatch. How long I knew where I was based on how long, because sometimes it's hard to gauge distance when you're out in the water. And I was looking down at my watch and I realized I'm like 20 minutes behind schedule here. Like this is insane. So yeah, I definitely felt that. It was like it was like being on a treadmill.
I think everyone that I spoke with was 7 to 10 minutes slower than usual. I mean, even the guys that swim in the front of the pack with Dave and the others, I usually come in about 10 or 15 minutes after Dave, and even back there, we were all, 7 to 10 minutes behind our time. Yeah. But As far as the most memorable swim for me, of course, there was the sequester swim, and I think the conditions in that were kind of dicey. I mean, it was hard to, with the buoys out there and the water conditions, it was kind of hard to, stay on course.
Yeah.
But the most memorable swim for me was in 1990, the tanker swim, when we all had to get out of the water because there was a ship departing somewhere in the northern part of the bay. I don't know if it was from the power plant or up in Providence. But, yeah, the skipper didn't get the word that the channel was closed. And so, and back then there were, I think, Save the Bay or Coast Guard limited the swim to just like 200 people. And so there weren't a lot, but we all had to have boats. Everybody had to have a boat. And the thing that was interesting about doing the swim with that lower number of people is that you didn't see, like now when you have, there's more than twice as many people. I think we had, 500 people out there last year? So you see other swimmers all across the bay.
Yeah.
Back then, once you got a few hundred yards into the swim, you were kind of by yourself out there, just your rowboat. But, we get out there in the middle of the channel. And as I was swimming along, I was always looking to my left or to the south to breathe. And, and my rower was on that side. And suddenly he started waving at me. And so I stopped and I asked, what's wrong? And he goes, you have to get out of the water. And he pointed up the bay. And I turned around and, there's a tanker bearing down on us, Did
it didn't stop? It just went right through?
I mean, if you know anything about shipping, a ship can't stop on a dime. It would have taken him to Block Island to stop, So we had to get in our rowboats and, fortunately they were rowboats back then. They weren't kayaks.
It would have been a little more difficult to get everybody out of the water.
Yeah. So we got in our rowboats and they essentially said the swim's over, and everybody had to get out of the way of this ship. But after the ship passed, they let us get back in the water and continue the swim.
Oh, cool.
That was
definitely memorable.
That was interesting.
Yeah, and I hear around the office people talk about the tanker swim, and I've never heard the actual story before. So that's really interesting. That must have been a sight to see.
It was interesting. It was otherwise great conditions that day. Yeah.
The sequester swim is definitely one of the more memorable ones. And for those of you who aren't familiar, the U.S. government had shut down. And there were issues with funding, so the Navy, like they've always been amazing supporters of Save the Bay and the event,
absolutely,
they couldn't let us start in Newport to swim across to Jamestown, so we actually started on Jamestown, and there was a triangle course laid out. So you went out one leg, kind of down the bay, the second leg, and then the third leg was back into the beach. And the issue was great logistic setup and everything, was the sun was directly in line with the second buoy, so no one could see it. So the divergence in swimmers going in every single direction possible to try to find the lost second buoy was really, really challenging. But I love the sequester swim because it made you appreciate how much more enjoyment you get out of getting in at Newport and getting out in Jamestown.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we'd appreciate it as much as we do if we hadn't had that sequester event.
No. Yeah.
I thought, and I mentioned this to Leanne Danielson, the Save the Bay events coordinator, and other people. I would have liked to seen Save the Bay set a course for us that started over at Third Beach in Middletown and swam over to here. This seems like a good natural place for Save the Bay to end with, your aquarium and exploration center here. There's plenty of parking at both sites, and to swim around, Tuckerman, I think that's called Tuckerman Point, but around that point there, it's about the same distance as swimming across the bay. And, hopefully if we ever get secluded or excluded from the base again, I hope they would consider swimming there.
We just had our splash event, the first splash event, which was like an obstacle course and polar plunge, and it was really awesome to have everybody come off the beach and come into the Exploration Center and check out the Exploration Center. We were giving out, if you registered, you got a free pass for the EC, which was really, that would be something that would be really cool.
Yeah, our open water swim group that swims, daily out at during the summers down at Satuas Beach. We frequently swim around that point, so
really?
It's a nice swim out there.
It's definitely, you're right about the sequester, how you appreciate going across the bay and from one destination to the other after that. I've done a lot of open water swims where it's you leave from a beach and you come back at the same beach, and you have those difficulties where the sun and where to go, you're not really sure. But when I get there the morning of the swim, I know where I'm going. It's, straight, well, for the most part, it's straight across. Maybe I swim a little bit towards the bridge, but yeah, for the most part, it's straight on. So, yeah, August 13th this year. First wave leaves at 9:15, a little later than what's been in the past.
Sleep in that day.
Yeah. So registration is open. Do you guys have anything else you want to add about the swim? Anything?
I just wanted to add, like we were talking and joking about, it's not a race, and a lot of us like to compete in it. But the really amazing part is, no matter how fast you swim across the bay, you have the best time, and it's one of those events I don't think you'll ever forget in your entire life, even if you only do it once.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, the more you do it, the more excited you get about it. Mm-hmm. It's like Christmas morning for Santa coming for some of us, but it really is. I mean, the joy on people's faces, even if it takes them an hour plus to get across, that's why you stay down there by the beach to watch that.
Yeah.
And then you go to the party a little later. It's just, no matter what age, there are people from, their late teens all the way into their 70s and 80s, right, that are doing this, and that is something to really stop for a minute and appreciate.
One thing that really touches me, it doesn't happen to me, but when I go there, now that there are so many more swimmers taking part in it, is that for a lot of people, how big of a family event it is. Yeah, my wife has no interest in going to any of my athletic endeavors. So I come to the swim by myself that morning. But there are so many swimmers there who have mom and dad, all their siblings, maybe grandma and grandpa are there, to support them. And I'm not saying that I need my wife to come and support me at the swim, but I just think it's really interesting how some people really make it a big family affair.
Yeah, I get that. My family comes to the swim. Absolutely. Yeah, the end is great. I remember each swim when I finished the 3 I've done. I remember the feeling of when I put my feet in the sand and stand up and walk out of the water, and I have a smile from ear to ear. And it doesn't go away until I leave the party afterwards. It's a great accomplishment, and it's a lot of fun, and you can't duplicate that feeling in any other way when you do something like that. Yeah.
No, that and the other thing is you can give obviously money to charities for anything in the world that you care about, but very few things I've found that you can donate some money to and then hopefully get others to donate to on your behalf. And then you get to go swim or do something physical. Like, that's pretty unique. I haven't found many other things like that really get me excited and challenged.
And not only the donations really, they go. You swimming across a cleaner bay is something that it's a direct correlation.
It's much cleaner today than when I first swam in 1989. At that time, there was that sewage treatment plant over in the Jamestown side that I think were discharging undesirable stuff into the water over there. Sure. And the bottom over there where we finished, right there in, what's the name of the cove? Potter Cove. Yeah, the bottom was not great over there, and it's much better. There's more life.
Yeah.
And the water's just cleaner. It's a nicer environment.
Yeah, which reminds me, again, part of the memory of last year was at the very end, there was a huge, enormous school of fish that swam under the group that had started in the first wave and was kind of together at the front. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking down thinking, that can't be real, because there are like hundreds to thousands of giant fish under me.
That's really
cool.
And
then someone actually talked to Fred Bartlett, who runs one of the swim groups over in South County, and said as they drove over the bridge that day, they saw us swimming across and saw the biggest school of fish they'd ever seen coming up the bay at the same time.
There
So
was
it wasn't a mirage that was because of oxygen deprivation.
It was a shark chasing the fish.
You got to say this:
coming
there's
for you.
no sharks in the bay ever. We've
no
never
sharks.
seen one. You can't scare people away.
Not in the bay, but I've seen them.
Well, thank you guys for coming out. It was awesome talking with you guys. Hopefully we'll have you back on the podcast when it gets closer to the swim. Maybe we'll talk about how you guys are prepping for the swim.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
Yeah. So until next time, Dan, Dave, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody, I'm back with Adam. Adam, is there anything else when people come down to the EC down in Newport, what they should be looking for in the coming month?
Yeah. So for this month in March, it's a really great month in Narragansett Bay, and the reason why things are slowly starting to warm up, the ice is melting, and things are starting to get more active all throughout the bay. Our turtles, for one thing, are getting more active. They're starting to move around and getting ready to lay their eggs out in the wild, that kind of thing. But even just bay animals in general, things that are marine, they're going to start swimming around a little bit more, getting a little more active. So this time of year is when we actually start to catch a lot of new stuff. And the neat thing about our aquarium, since every animal in here is directly from Narragansett Bay, for the most part, as long as they're not a rescue for some reason, we can release them into the bay. So we go out, we catch new stuff, we release the stuff that's been here all winter long, and we keep rotating stuff out, and it keeps it exciting, for all of our staff, but all the guests too get to come in and see new animals all the time. And this is when we really start to get new ones just starting up right around now.
That's great. So many reasons to come down to the Exploration Center and Aquarium. Not only the terrific turtles, but I will definitely be down here for the terrific turtles stuff.
That's what I'm talking about, Maddie. Come on back.
I'm going to be making the turtle crafts, everything. I'm going to be holding the turtle. It's going to be great. So that's it for this month's podcast. You can, in the link descriptions below, if you're watching this on YouTube, is all our social media, at Save the Bay RI on Twitter and Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. Of course, you're probably watching this on the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/SaveTheBayRI. Yeah, and until next month, this has been great. I think that the first podcast really, a lot of people got a lot of positive feedback from it.
Oh, great, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really hoping if you guys are enjoying this podcast, comment below, shoot us a tweet, let us know that you're enjoying it, and give this video a thumbs up, and that would be really fantastic. We want to hear back from you.
Yeah, and thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it.
Yep. And until next time, we'll see you down at the EC in Newport. Have a good one.